Hi, it's so nice to see everyone again virtually. You're on Music and Chat with Shueh-li Ong, and it's a good morning from me to you in Singapore. Please say hi and let us know where you're tuning in from, and do not be backward and coming forward. We're all friends now, so just join in the fun. We're still in phase 2 post Singapore's version of the lockdown, and my mom and I have already watched every program on TV. No, just kidding. I think it's almost getting to that. So might have to start subscribing. So you know the routine now. Please put any questions you have in the live stream, and I shall address them as we move along. So let's see who is already here. Hi, Sam. So good to see you. Of course, Sam's in Sydney, Australia. Oh, thanks, Sam. Sam says hello to Mom as well. I'm sure she'd be delighted to hear that you said hello. Anybody else? I see a few bodies lurking around. And I noticed I have one thumbs up and one thumbs down. In some circles, they'll say, who's that joker with the thumb down? That's okay. So, I have a special guest today, but first, music. I've got a couple of pieces I want to play for you. My guest today is a theremin fan, so I've got a couple of pieces with theremin in it. The more traditional way of articulating. When I say articulating, I'm talking about articulating a musical phrase. And the not so traditional way of articulating a musical phrase. Hi, Mike from Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. So good to see your face too. So while I wait for everyone to turn up, I shall start playing. Because where there is me, there is music. Let me turn my theremin cam on. There we go. So that was Someone to Watch Over Me by Gershwin, of course. One of my favorite pieces to play. When I mentioned traditional articulation, of course, that's up to your interpretation, what traditional means or could mean. And the second piece was MicroTunneling, an extended piece that I put together as a movement for my yet-to-be-released concerto. I'm trying to gain inspiration to write movement by movement, and microtunneling, as the name kind of implies, has to do with microtuning. So there's a lot of in-between spots which don't quite fit what our ears are accustomed to hearing. So I deliberately push into that little area, kind of jars your hearing a bit, but it all comes together. Again, it's also one of my favorite movements to play because I get to do some extended synth stuff as well with, for those of you who are familiar, the aftertouch and all that kind of stuff, which means you play a key and then you press down to get other effects. So enough of me waffling on my favorite things to do. Time is a-ticking, and I want to say hello to a few more people. Oops, I got Philip's little thing up there, label. Philip's label, our guest today. So we have Drew Placid from San Antonio in Texas. And he says, I can't wait to see Philip Nelson. That guy's awesome. Yes, he is. We've only known each other for a short time, but we met each other 10 years ago, and I knew the moment I met Philip that he would be a good friend. We have Meow from the cat in Vegas. Excuse me, it's a dry day. Hold on. That's better. Hi, Meow. Yes, you're right. Cats like extended synth stuff. Thanks, cat. Oh, I suspect, yes. And then we have Scott Cooper. I'm not sure where tuning in from, but hi, Scott. And Anson Eagers. Let me know if I'm pronouncing that right. Philip's coming on in a second. I have to do my little chatter first with everybody. So let me move on to the next section. Hold on. I think there's a little hay fever going on in Singapore right now. There's a lot of rain and then a lot of sun. And it looks like I got a little tickle in my throat. Hold on one second. That's the thing with life, isn't it? There's not much you can do to stop things from happening. It is happening as you are talking about it. As the tickle is growing in your throat, you have to send your apologies, take a sip, and carry on. So let's carry on. You guys are crazy. So anyway, broadcasting. We talked a little about broadcasting with our friend Tony Fowler last week. He worked with the BBC and he had plenty of stories about the 60s. But broadcasting has come a long way with the amalgamation of computers in the editing room. So let's step forward into the 80s from the 60s and take a look at the Commodore Amiga, because I used it. I was one of the users of the Amiga. It was a popular machine for gaming, video games. But it was a special machine as well by using a genlock. So those of you who are here probably know what a genlock is and are probably familiar with using one. You could overlay video signals with the Amiga's internally generated graphics and titling, so on and so forth. Something the IBM PC and Mac Apples or Macintoshes could not do at that time. Then a fella came along by the name of Tim Jennison, who saw its potential and created DigiView, a device to capture single frames from video and save them onto floppy disk. Nothing special according to today's standards, but it was special then. And that launched NewTek and the VideoToaster video effects generator in 87. The idea was born in 87, but it was launched in 1990. Several years after this fortuitous occasion, I happened to stroll down the graphics site creating interactive multimedia performance systems for my postgraduate project and adopting the Amiga for 2D and 3D computer animation work. And I recently discovered some slides I took of my ray traced renderings, and I promised our guest today, Philip Nelson, hooray, Philip Nelson, that I'd share these pics with all of you. So without further ado, let's welcome Philip Nelson, former Senior VP Strategic Development of NewTek. Philip, I'm calling Philip. Philip. Hey, Philip Nelson, you brought your friends with you by the looks of it.
Yeah, they like to heckle me, so I'm sure they'll be making fun of me all night, so it is what it is.
All right, I'm just going to adjust you a bit in the frame because it looks like you have decided to change position, which is always...
I can move.
It's fine with me. You just stay there. You are in the spot you should be right now because I have your name and everything below your picture.
Perfect. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. And you?
Fantastic. I loved the walk down memory lane with a discussion of the DigiView and the VideoToaster and Tim Jennison, who is one of my technology heroes. So it's exciting to be here with you to geek out a little bit on your show.
Likewise, Philip. Before we get started on your very impressive stories, ooh, I heard a couple of beeps. Is that from you?
It could be someone texting me. I'm
Okay.
monitoring on my phone. I'm so high tech.
Oh.
I will not set that on my laptop anymore.
No worries. I just want to make sure everything was still running fine. Because, you know, with life, there's not much you can say to stop things from happening. It's gonna happen anyway. I'm just making sure that you are still streaming to my feed and that I'm sending you out to YouTube and you haven't kind of got lost in the abyss somewhere.
I stay lost in the abyss, but tonight I'm not.
Before we continue, I want to say hello to somebody else. Graham Toms.
Graham Toms, oh my gosh. He was an artist at Disney.
Oh,
and he's
wow.
a very good friend of mine, and he was one of the few people that could draw Mickey Mouse and write copyright Disney on it. And so it was exciting that he logged in. Graham, thanks for joining.
Oh, there you go. I got few of your other friends. I'll say hello to them again so you know who's here. Meow.
Hey, what's going on?
Meow from the Cat in Vegas. Scott Cooper.
Scott Cooper is a teacher at the Art Institute and a very talented painter and sculptor and all kinds of cool stuff.
Anson Egas.
He's a rapper, and you know, he's an up-and-coming rapper, so I'm glad I've got my crew here tonight.
Yeah, it looks like you have, and I've got mine too.
Let's bring our crews together and have some fun.
Yeah, we're partying today. Philip, me, and our crew. Oh, there's a Drew Placid.
Drew Placid is a mad scientist. That's all I can say about him.
Sorry, guys, if I'm mispronouncing your names. It's not deliberate, but, you know. So I give you license to mispronounce my name anytime. Once.
I know how to pronounce it. I can say it. Shueh-li. Is that right?
That's pretty close. Oh, let me move. You moved again. How did you do that? No, you stay there. I'll move you. Okay, let's move on. Time is ticking, and I know our fans and our friends want to see what we're up to. So I want to show you my stuff first, my pictures that I took.
All right, let's see this.
Okay, Let me just change. So remember I told you guys that, oh, where's Philip gone? Oh, Philip, where are you?
I'm here.
Okay. All right. Let's just...
So what did you was that done in Sculpt Animate, or what was the 3D package you were using?
I tell you what, today's been crazy. So many things are coming in to make the flow a little bumpy, but we shall persevere. All right, sorry guys, it is live. I'm sorry. So okay, here is one of the pictures, the renderings that I did with Sculpt Animate. I'll just go through it very quickly. And I actually took a shot of this with my iPhone through a slide viewer, so it looks, everything looks green. This was a clock that I did with texture mapping on the clock itself. And then I had some outdoor furniture.
You know, that was when 3D animation was actually difficult and you had to do math.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like today where it's like make a ball and put a dot here and texture it and bump map it. Back then, everything was done, almost point by point. It was difficult to do. I mean, in that era, it's also around that same era when Pixar started releasing their animated shorts.
Yeah.
So you were ahead of your time. That was cool. I'm glad you found it.
Yeah, I persevered. I really wanted to get into 3D animation. And yeah, I do recall entering the coordinates, having to place lights before you could render your scene, place your camera. Much later, I used Maya on Silicon Graphics, and everything was so much easier. It wasn't as productive in terms of the amount of tricks that you get now, but it was still much better than using a Sculpt Animate back then. But I mean, it was very affordable, the Amiga system and the software and all that, and that's what got me started. So enough of me, I want to talk about you.
All right, let's do it. I hate talking about myself.
I just want to share it with you because I was so delighted to find it. I thought, I still have some of my old stuff I can show Philip and my friends. It's crazy. So Philip and I met about 10 years ago, as I said, and when I met Philip, my past deeds with the Amiga came flashing back. It was like someone was saying, all right, now we're going to expose you.
All your secrets will be revealed.
All my secrets. And I'm curious, Philip, how you ventured into this industry.
Well, it's a funny story. When I was a little kid, I was the little kid with the video camera. Even in the 6th grade, I talked my parents into buying a video camera, and it was one of those Panasonic shoulder cameras. Yeah. And the VCR was the portable VCR was basically a true VCR that ran off batteries, and you had to carry it around. And I was the little kid running around videotaping things. And then in the late 80s, my dad was a mechanical engineer and an MBA, and he built and designed equipment for the pulp and paper industry. And I was like, Dad, you need to do a video.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay. So, I talked him into hiring me to do his video, and I went out and bought a bunch of equipment, really nice 3-chip JVC camera. I spent probably 20 grand on equipment, which, for an 18-year-old kid was a lot of money. And I started doing these videos, and I was good at it. Yeah. And so I just built a company around it. And in 1990, I bought an Amiga VideoToaster and started doing animation in Lightwave and built a really successful production company. And that's how I got into video. It was, I was just foolish enough to not take no for an answer, and just had a good eye for it and got into TV and worked my way into doing college sports and various other things. And we actually did the first high school football television show in the United States that aired on Fox. And we were based in North Louisiana, so they actually preempted their news to run this football show. So from 9 to 10 on Fox, they didn't have news. It was football on Thursday night. So yeah, it was pretty cool. And then I sold that company in 2005, I think. And then, no, it was 1997. And then in 98, I started working at NewTek. So I was a NewTek geek. I was a big fan of Tim Jennison and the VideoToaster. And when I sold my company, that's the only place I wanted to work. And I called them and said, I want to work here. And they're like, we're not hiring. So I called them once a week until they hired me. So it worked out for me. I just bugged them into submission. Finally, the HR lady was like, I'm going to get you an interview just so you'll quit calling me. And I was like, sounds good. And then they hired me on the spot, and I was there for 20 years. So yeah, it's my mothership.
So what did you impress them with during your interview?
I don't know. I think my insanity. And
not your sense of humor?
I probably had a sense of humor, but I think if, I started out in NewTek in sales. I wanted any job I could get at NewTek. And so they said, well, we'll hire you. Because I loved NewTek. I was just a fan, and I sold the company, and I was just playing music in bars and acting like an idiot. And I figured I better do something with my life now that because I had a non-compete and I couldn't work in television production in that region. So I just wanted to work for NewTek, and we did very well. And when I came to NewTek, it was just after the Amiga had gone bankrupt. Commodore had gone under. You couldn't buy Amigas anymore, but people were still buying VideoToasters and the Flyer, which was the editor. And so the used market for Amigas was through the roof, and I knew the products inside and out. And, what a better way to sell something than to know how to use it really well, instead of just being hey, I read the spec sheet and I want you to buy this. So, I worked my way up at NewTek, and I had a blast on that roller coaster ride of technology innovation at NewTek.
So I think some of us are curious as to the history of the company, of NewTek. Give us a little short story if you could.
Well, you kind of said it. Tim Jennison, believe it or not, before he did DigiPaint and DigiView and those products, he wrote a paint program for the color computer. And it was called Cocoa Max, I think, or Cocoa Paint. Anyway, for color computer. And then he created the DigiView and DigiPaint. And, one of the things I love about Tim Jennison is he's one of those guys that really does see around corners. He knows where things are going. So if you put it into context, in 1990, when the VideoToaster was released, we didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
We didn't have streaming video. We had 2400 baud, sometimes 5600 baud modems that could upload a picture in an hour, But when they released the VideoToaster, Tim Jennison had a quote. He said, in the next 20 years, your favorite TV show will be made by you or someone you know.
Wow.
And that's before streaming. Yeah. It is. He really does see around corners, and he's a genius. And, Moore's Law, he knew where processors were going to go. He knew where technology was going to go. He knew that, network speeds would increase, and we would eventually be able to make our own show and broadcast our own show. But Tim really did. He's the father of desktop video. He's the first person to allow you to ever create a multi-camera live TV show on a computer. And so that's kind of the history of NewTek. And at the same time, when the VideoToaster came out, a piece of software was in there called Lightwave 3D, which democratized 3D animation, because at the time, if you wanted to do 3D animation in a professional way, you had to go get Alias Wavefront or some other software and spend $30,000 on the software and another $100,000 on the computer to run it, and then you buy a VideoToaster for $1,500 and a $2,000 Amiga, and you're making computer animation, which is why shows like Babylon 5 got made, which was one of the first television shows that actually was computer animated TV show on a television budget, and you had Unsolved Mysteries doing UFO animations. Some of my friends in Albuquerque, New Mexico did that. Brad Carvey was one of them, who is Dana Carvey's brother from Saturday Night Live, but he was an early animator. But it really did. It democratized video, it democratized animation, and allowed anybody with a good idea to actually give it a try. You know, and so that's really Tim's legacy, is that he's the father of desktop video, and you know, I couldn't say more good things about him, because he's one of my geek heroes of the world.
And you have plenty of them. I've got some pictures later on to show.
Blackmail.
But before that, I'm curious, how did you get from sales to strategic development then?
It's actually, that's the easy part, because if you know the technology and you love the technology, I wasn't really a sales guy. You know, I'm not a chart flipping sales guy. I'm an evangelist. If I love something, I will tell you I love it, and I'll make you love it. Okay, so it's not really, you know, I couldn't sell insurance. I couldn't sell Ford Pintos. I could sell Corvettes and Dodge Vipers all day long, though, because I love them. And so, you know, that's really what happened, is I just made NewTek a lot of money by being passionate about it. And what happened is, you know, when we launched the TriCaster in 2005, at that time I was running sales and marketing, video sales and video marketing and sales. And Jim Plant, the CEO, and I worked with Andrew Cross, our president of development, and we came up with this idea of how to make live streaming easy. Let's simplify the interface. Let's try to price it under $5,000. We had all these things. So just how do we make it easy? And we launched the TriCaster in 2005. And, you know, our strategy there was, you know, we wanted to sell it to every high school in America, every small college in America, corporate marketing departments, churches. But, you know, anybody that's worked in technology for any period of time knows the old cliche, nobody gets fired for buying IBM. Back when they would buy desktop computers, it would be like, IBM was a safe bet. So my whole philosophy was, let's go get some big accounts. Instead of just trying to work our way up from the bottom, let's go land some really high-end accounts. So, you know, a friend of mine named Mark Jeffers, who worked at NBC, basically set up a tour for me to go around New York City, and I met with MTV, and I met with the NBA, and I met with the New York Giants and CBS and all these networks. And, you know, MTV took a chance on us. And they said, you know what, this streaming thing's going to be big. And we think, you know, they had a show called The Hills, which was one of the early reality shows. And my buddy Mike Rotman, I know, is watching, and he loves reality TV, so I got to give him a shout out. But anyway, it was called The Hills, and they said, well, let's see if we can bring our audience from the minute the TV show is over, let's bring them to MTV.com. So we created this thing called the Hills After Show Party. And we set it up, the TriCaster up, in a fan's house in Long Island, connected to her dad's Fios. And we had cameras running up into the living room, and a host was sitting in the living room, and they watched the episode. And in the last commercial break, they cut to us and said, hey, if you want more to discuss The Hills, log on to thehills.mtv.com and join us for the after show party. Heidi and Spencer are going to be calling in and taking your questions. They had hundreds of thousands of teenage girls log in, and the rest is history. And it ended up being a full show. And then the next big one we landed was the NBA, the National Basketball Association. They were just getting the NBA Development League off the ground. And so once again, they took a chance on an unknown kid. We rolled out the TriCaster throughout the NBA D League and the WNBA. And that's how I got into strategic development. I kind of you're a musician, and so my whole philosophy was kind of the strategy that Fender and Gibson use to get every little kid to buy their guitar. If Eric Clapton plays a Telecaster, they're going to sell a lot of Telecasters. You know, Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimi Hendrix have those Strats, they're going to go buy the Strats, you know. And so that was really, you know, I figured if we can get some of these big accounts and then 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 it makes it an easy purchasing decision for everybody else, and that's why TriCaster is #1 in the world, and it's really pretty amazing. And that's how I got into strategic development. It's how I always worked, even when I was officially in sales. And then Tim came to me one day and just said, "Philip, you're like P.T. Barnum. I just want you to totally do strategic development, and we're going to hire somebody to run sales. We're going to hire someone to do marketing. We just want you to go out and spread the news about TriCaster." And that's what I did, and I loved it. I got paid to go hang out with interesting people and be a nerd. It was a perfect job for me.
So I've got a picture of Lightwave 3D for those of us who are unfamiliar with what we've been talking about. That's a 3D rendering program that was... sorry, Philip?
Yeah, I'm eating candy.
I'm sorry.
I told you I would be eating candy during your show, and here I am eating candy.
And that's the VideoToaster, at least a image of a VideoToaster then with the Amiga 2000. Oh no, it's making me kind of pine for my Amiga 2000, which my mom tossed out the window. Philip tells me he has an Amiga 3000 though, so if I have any old files, he could probably bring them back to life. So I need to go dig into my my drawers. Find
your old Amiga floppy disks or your SciQuest drives and bring them to America when you come back, and we'll figure out what's on there, what magical gems await.
I know, right? Scary. Ooh. Scary but exciting. And this is the TriCaster. So according to Philip, when I spoke to him, did you single-handedly put together the product specs of the TriCaster?
No, as I mentioned earlier, so basically Jim Plant and I, the CEO, and I sat down and we started brainstorming about some things. And then Andrew Cross is the genius that made it. We put together what it should look like, and I named it, and I helped launch it. Jim Plant and I both co-demoed it at a big technology launch festival in Silicon Valley called Demo, the 15th anniversary of Demo, and that's where we launched it. And I met, all these legends of tech like Jim Louderback, who was with Ziff Davis. He worked for USA Today. He was an editor, I think, of PC Magazine and Digital Life TV, and even a famous science fiction writer named Jerry Pournelle, who wrote Lucifer's Hammer and Footfall, and he wrote a column for Byte Magazine, and it was called Chaos Manor. And what was really funny is he was one of the first people. Jim Louderback and Alex and Jerry Pournelle were the first to review the product when we launched it. And what was really funny, in Jerry's review, he wrote that the TriCaster wins the Byte Media Labs Cold Dead Fingers Award, which means they can't have it back until they pry it from my cold dead fingers. And I thought he was joking. And then after the review came out, I was like, "Hey, here's the address to send it back." And he goes, "You didn't read the review? I'm not sending it back. I'm keeping it. I need this." And so, but it was a team. Like when we were nominated for the technical Emmy, the 4 people named on it were Tim Jennison, the founder and technical genius of NewTek, Andrew Cross, who was the guy who made it, Jim Plant, the CEO, and myself, which they were really slumming it, letting me get on that Emmy nomination. What really stinks is we did not win the Emmy, and you know what beat us? It was a set-top box for cable, which was a joke.
Really?
That set-top box is long gone. Nobody remembers, but TriCaster is still changing the world. We should have come home with the hardware. But I did get a nice pair of binoculars in my gift bag for nominees. So,
do you think there was there was fear, perhaps? Sometimes I know this is a little contentious, maybe, but people make decisions out of fear.
Well, you have people that get set in their ways. And there's a book called The Innovator's Dilemma. And it's one of the books that NewTek would live by. And it's when a paradigm shift happens in an industry, the old leader is rarely the new leader. Because they don't want to change. They just want to, they want to make bigger hard drives with more capacity instead of shrinking things down, because that's what they're set up to do. And we definitely game changed the world with TriCaster. I mean, look what you're doing right now. You're making your own show and nobody can tell you can't do it. All the tools are there for you to do it, and that all started with NewTek. Without NewTek, we would not have this video revolution that we have today.
So what were some of those special considerations that you, as a team, decided had to go into the TriCaster?
Well, sorry, I'm eating more candy.
No, of course, no. Can I have
I love
some?
chocolate. Here you go.
Thank you.
So it was more about how to make it easy, because there's a ton of equipment out there that does all these complicated things, but it was how to make it easy. I mean, you know, we wanted to have graphics. You had to be able to play back video. You had to be able to do chroma key. You needed to be able to stream. You needed to be able to record. You needed to be able to switch multiple cameras. But a lot of people don't realize this, but the name TriCaster comes from the fact that it can broadcast to 3 things at once: to TV, linear television, to the web, and to digital signage. And that's why we called it TriCaster, because in a church, they may want to put it on a local TV station. They also want to stream it out to their website, and they also want to put it on projectors. At a football stadium, it's the same thing. They may want the game to go to TV, to the web, to LED video boards nowadays. But, you know, having all 3 outputs was very important. That's kind of some of the secrets of the TriCaster development.
Wonderful. So I've got some questions about technology.
Okay.
Out of interest. Before we show
You've got questions? I've got blank stares. No.
Pass me some chocolate, please.
There you go.
Thank you.
So, magic of television.
Yeah. Cheers. So we've gone from thinking in terms of PAL and NTSC, and filmmakers are now using up to 240 frames per second for creative film work, and they're spoiled for choice with ultra high definition 4K and 8K. Is that right? We have 8K.
There is 8K. You can go as many Ks as you want these days.
So what do you think the next step will be? Will we keep on moving forward in multiplying in numbers?
Well, you know, it's funny that you say that. Technology companies want you to buy the new high resolution whatever. But really, the revolution is exactly what you're doing today. You're not in a traditional television studio. It's that long tail content. It's niche content that can now be made and look good and have the production value, and that's what I get excited about. You know, I don't get excited about more pixels on the screen, because you know, if you stream in 4K and you're paying for the bandwidth, you're spending 4 times the amount of bandwidth dollars for the same viewer. I'd rather have 4 people watching at a little lower res as long as it's high def. That's kind of my view, but you know, it depends on what you're doing. But yeah, you know, they're going to keep advancing resolutions and things like that. But from a production standpoint, I think you're going to see better cameras that are smaller, more affordable. You know, more. The real revolution is IP video. Okay, so in the olden days, when I was a kid, we had a coax cable and we liked it. You know. But, you know, you had these cables and they were one way. So now we live in this IP video world. There's Ethernet everywhere. There's network infrastructure everywhere. And so NewTek actually developed a standard called NDI, which stands for Network Device Interface. And the system you're using has it. Most of these systems have NDI. But instead of plugging in an HDMI cable or an SDI cable, you just plug your system into your network, and cameras show up. In fact, here at Nelco, you see my equipment here. This camera that I'm pointing at right here is just hooked into my wall. And anywhere in the building, I can bring this camera up via NDI. And you see I'm just feeding it into a TriCaster over there with some Skype feeds that are not active right now. But yeah, that's really the exciting thing for me, because with COVID, you know, remote production is becoming more and more important. If anyone saw the NFL draft, you know, they had to totally send cameras out to all the draft picks and all the teams, and everything was remote. The talent was remote. They had someone in a control room switching the show. Nelco actually helped them with a little bit of that. We helped them with some of the remote cameras because we worked with the NFL Network for a while now. But yeah, that's the revolution, is that you don't have to roll in the giant 18-wheeler anymore. You could actually send cameras and a producer and connect them to the network and sit back in wherever and switch the show without traveling 50 people. That's the real revolution, that you can produce from anywhere.
So I've got a couple of questions from the viewers, but before we look into them, I'll just give a quick summary of what NDI can do. Sorry, thinking of MBA. NDI.
So NDI, as I mentioned, it's an IP video standard. So think of it as the modern day HDMI cable, but it's an Ethernet cable. But what makes it unique is it's bidirectional. You know, like if I have an HDMI cable, it's going from the output of my laptop to my TV. It's not sending anything back to the laptop that's useful. But NDI is, I can have one Ethernet cable running to a camera, and over that Ethernet, I could be sending video from the camera to my switcher. I could be sending video from the switcher back to the camera so you can see it on a monitor. And I could also have a teleprompter that's being fed. I could have comms so that I could talk to my camera ops over NDI over Ethernet. That's really kind of the magic. And you know, you think of it as it's the next generation of video cable, but it's really just Ethernet, and it's a standard, and it's bidirectional. That's really the secret sauce of what's made NDI so well adopted, was the bidirectional, and the fact that NewTek licenses it for software development for free. You don't have to pay them millions and millions of dollars to use it, which is why there are millions of people that have NDI-enabled devices now.
So as Philip said, the SDK is available for download for free, and the NDI kind of enables, if I may kind of summarize that, video-compatible products to identify, communicate, deliver, receive over native IP, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the other thing that...
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
So you have high-quality video, low latency, frame-accurate video audio in your live broadcast.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And the other thing about it is it's set up to work on gigabit Ethernet, because some of the other IP standards require 10 gig, which most businesses and people don't have. They don't have a 10 gig, 12-port switch. They have a gigabit Ethernet. So I could go down to Best Buy and buy a router and set my cameras up and make a show. So that's what makes it cool.
We have a question from Sam in Sydney, Australia. How much does the TriCaster cost, please?
The modern day TriCasters started around $5,000. It's not free. It's not. I mean, if you're going to make a TV show and get paid for it, it's a low price. And you can spend as much as you want, because there's versions that have 44 inputs, so you could have 44 live cameras hooked up. In fact, when I was still at NewTek, we worked with the Weather Channel to cover the eclipse when it went across the United States, and they had cameras and feeds coming from all over the U.S. going into the Weather Channel's main control room via NDI. So it's just super scalable. You can spend as much money as you want, but it starts at around $5,000.
So this picture that I have of the TriCaster, is that your entry-level package? Yes,
no.
What does the $5,000 give you?
The Mini is a little cube about this big that gives you 4 cameras that come in. The one you had is probably the TC1, which goes up to 16 cameras. That one retails for around $15,000.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, that's the TC1.
Another question from your friend, I believe. I believe it's Kat. She wants to know why Lightwave 3D is not NDI enabled, but Maya has NDI support.
That's a very good question. And Kat is a good friend of mine from Las Vegas, who was a Hollywood animator. And he is a champion for Lightwave, and I can't answer that question. I think they should have NDI enabled, and we should all lobby NewTek to add it. So, Kat, meow to you.
I need to meet these friends of yours one day. They sound like a fun bunch.
They're just as weird as me, so that can either scare you off or make you want to meet them even more.
I like weird. Weird's good. Eamon Drew, is that how you pronounce your name? Eamon?
Yes.
Eamon? Eamon?
Yes. He has a company in Australia. He's an Aussie. They
Hey,
make
Ozzy.
they make a device called BirdDog, which is, in fact, I have
Oh, I
one right
remember
here.
BirdDog.
This
Yeah.
is BirdDog. This is basically what this is this is a bidirectional NDI encoder decoder. So I could actually plug an input in and an output here, SDI, and also plug in an HDMI in and out. So this
Ah.
is a cool device. BirdDog, I love it.
BirdDog. So Eamon says NDI and IP workflows are 100% the future. Eamon, which part of Australia are you situated? East, west, central, north? Let us know. Drew has something to say to Philip Nelson. We are so grateful at Can Opener Labs to Philip Nelson and Nelco Media, which we'll talk about in a minute. Nelco Media is Philip's own company, for sponsoring us with a full TriCaster package.
Oh my goodness, did I? No,
Lucky
no way to put
Drew.
me on the spot. No. Oh yeah.
No, don't worry. We won't ask you for a free TriCaster.
I'll take good care of you though.
Who else is out there? Oh, don't worry. Yes. Yeah, I will. This is a secret between me and I don't know the person's name, but he roams on YouTube as or she Championship Darts Circuit.
Oh my gosh, that's a secret identity. That guy, David Ireet, he is
Oh.
actually also he streams dart tournaments, but he's also a producer of Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. That's his secret identity.
Oh
And
no.
I'm going to tell a secret. David's going to be mad at me, but
Uh-oh.
one day when I went to meet with him, we were at Jeopardy and I told him that I wanted to go see the Wheel of Fortune.
Oh.
And I love that show, and he's worked with Merv Griffin Productions forever. And he said, well, the set's closed. I was like, you got to take me in. So we go into the set, and the wheel is covered up with a big giant tarp. And I'm like, I got to see the wheel. And he goes, dude, it's covered. And so I crawled under the tarp with the wheel and got my cell phone and did a selfie with the wheel. And I may be the only person on the planet to have a secret under the tarp selfie with the Wheel of Fortune. So thank you, David.
You need to show it to me one day.
It's my I don't want to get him in too much trouble, even though I just said it publicly.
Okay.
Sorry, David.
No worries. I'm sure he'll forgive you. So Eamon is from Melbourne, Australia. That's my hometown. I was
Well,
born.
BirdDog it's
Yeah.
also where BirdDog was born.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I was born in Melbourne, Australia.
That's awesome. I've never been, but I really want to go. I like to scuba dive, so
Me
Eamon needs to
too.
take me diving.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay, so here's my last one before we move on to pictures. Your friend. Um, s- oh, who is with Lightforge Render Network again? It's not cats, is it? Anyway, whoever's hiding behind Lightforge Render Network says, Philip, we signed a strategic partnership with Atari. It'd be interesting to see NDI enable on it and in the apps for streaming iGaming events.
Well, if only I worked at NewTek still, I could influence that. But now I'm just a lowly boutique reseller based in San Antonio building out TV studios. So I can lobby it for you, but I can't guarantee anything.
There you go. Philip will try his best. So let's move on to some pictures from Philip's little basket of tricks.
Uh-oh, I'm scared.
Well, you sent them to me, so
You were supposed to act like you found them. You let my secret out of the bag.
well, all right. You already exposed them on Facebook, so it's a known fact that you have offered it for for
That's true.
criticism.
I don't hide much anymore. It's all on Facebook.
So here, let's start with not this one. Where's the one that I'm looking for? Sorry, folks. Okay, this one. Let's start with this one.
All right.
It's a
Which
picture
one?
of you with Stan Lee and I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yes. Stan Lee is, I've worked with him at a few Comic Cons, and actually I'm helping produce a documentary called From the Bridge. And that's the director of From the Bridge, Spencer F. Lee, and Carrie O'Quinn, who started Starlog magazine and Fangoria magazine. But our documentary is about geek culture and how it went from an underground community of hardcore fans to the most powerful, profitable consumer base in the world. And so I'd worked with Stan and his manager Max for a few years, and Stan did an interview with us for the documentary, and that was after we shot the interview. And Stan told us how he got into comics, and it's amazing. This documentary is going to be pretty sweet.
That's wonderful. And here's a pic of you with Buzz Aldrin.
Oh yeah, Buzz Aldrin. It was really cool. So that when Obama got elected president, we were asked to team up with a friend of mine has a company called TV Worldwide, and he was streaming the inaugural party, and our host was Buzz Aldrin. And so at that party, it was so weird because we were in the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum in D.C., and I'm sitting there talking to Buzz Aldrin thinking, dude, this guy freaking walked on the moon. This is amazing. And I look behind him, and there's his spacesuit in a display.
Wow.
And we were standing by the Apollo display, and I didn't even notice that before because I was so excited to meet Buzz. And I was like, dude, is it kind of cool to sit here and, do a webcast in front of your spacesuit? And he was just a super nice guy and so smart and just really, really cool. And I wanted to get his autograph, but I couldn't do that because I didn't want to look too dorky. So I figured, well, let's do a picture, and a picture is as good as an autograph. So
of course,
that's my Buzz Aldrin. I said, also he's a hero to kids across the world, as Buzz Lightyear is named after him. So yeah, that was a highlight for me to meet Buzz Aldrin and actually get to hang out with him in front of his capsule and spacesuit and the door they blew off when they came back to Earth. It was so amazing.
Mm-hmm. And we have you with Ashton Kutcher?
Yes. So a friend of mine named Brad Hunstable started a company called Ustream, which was one of the early high-end streaming services. And he called me and said, hey, I've got an account that needs some help. They want to use TriCaster. And it was Ashton Kutcher and Demi Moore. And so I went in and set up the TriCaster in their conference or in their little lounge in front of their offices. And Ashton was doing a fantasy football TV show, and so I taught him how to do it. And Demi Moore was the sweetest celebrity I've ever met. I just did not expect her to be as nice as she was, and she's stunning. And it was really cool to meet them both. Yes, I'm a nerd. And I was a fan of St. Elmo's Fire, too, and Ghost.
Of course. And here's you and William Shatner.
Oh, William Shatner is a cool one. So William was an investor in a website called myouterspace.com with Sammy Aridi out of Hollywood. And so it was funny because they said they wanted to use TriCaster to stream William Shatner interviewing Leonard Nimoy from the deck of the Midway in San Diego during San Diego Comic-Con. Wow. And so we teamed up with them to help them do it, and they did a custom virtual set that looked like the Bridge of the Enterprise. And then I got to know Bill and his team, Kathleen and Paul. And this picture was actually taken at his charity event in Hollywood called the Hollywood Charity Horse Show. Wow. Every year, Bill does this charity event that he invites all of his celebrity friends in, and they raise money for kids and veterans to get therapy with horses.
Wow.
And so he actually let me open. So every year it's a different famous singer. Like one year it was REO Speedwagon, Brad Paisley, Randy Travis, Winona Judd, Sheryl Crow. And one year he let me be the opening act. So I got in and got my guitar and played some music for Bill and all of his celebrity friends, and it was really fun.
We'll talk about that too. Philip the musician, but before that, Kat, she said, are you still in touch with Mr. Shatner?
I talked to his social media guy today, but I don't talk to Bill that much. But interesting piece of trivia is Bill's son-in-law is a legendary Lightwave guy. His name is
Oh,
Andrew Clement. He did Hercules and Xena
wow.
in Lightwave, and he
Yeah.
also is a special effects artist. He runs the Dick Smith Special Effects School, and that's Bill's son-in-law. So it's a small, crazy
Oh.
world. Don't be a jerk. Everybody knows each other, and it will come
Mm.
back to haunt you if you're a jerk. And if you're
Yeah.
nice, it may come back to you too.
I know. Karma. So here's a picture of you and the Hansons.
Oh my gosh, yes, the Hansons. And we're talking about the Umbop Hansons, not the Slapshot Hansons, which was a movie about hockey. But what was really cool is, well, this isn't cool, but do you remember when the tsunami hit Japan and it was just devastating to Japan? We were all at South by Southwest in Austin. And I get a call from Taylor Hanson like at midnight on like a Tuesday night, and he's like, hey, we want to do a 12-hour live webcast to raise money for the Red Cross for Japanese tsunami relief. And they started calling all their friends and bringing in their friends. So like it was like Michael Stipe from REM and Andy Grammer and Natasha Bedingfield, Ben Folds, just a lot of great artists. And so I said, I'll help you do it. So the funny story, and this is going to derail our discussion, but I have to tell this story.
Yes, please.
So halfway through the day, you know, these artists were coming in and out, and they were streaming it, and it was, you know, it was amazing. And I went up to Zach, which is the youngest brother and the drummer, and I was like, hey, Zach, if somebody doesn't show up for their time slot, do you think I could do a song? And he's like, are you any good? And I said, well, I'm no Hanson, but I'm good enough that I know I would not embarrass my family if I played on your show. And so about an hour later, he's like, oh, Philip, somebody's running late. If you want to do a quick song, run in there and get somebody to run the TriCaster. So my buddy Dan Parker ran the TriCaster, and I went in and played the song. What was really cool is I have a secret identity, and my friends that are watching know I play music, but a lot of people don't realize it that I've worked with in the industry. And they called me like 2 weeks after South by Southwest, and they're like, we're doing a record and we're picking our favorite songs, and we want to put your song on the record. I'm like, holy crud, I'm on the record with all these famous people. I'm the only unknown on this record, which was insanity. And so yeah, that was cool.
So a streaming garage. Don't know
Yeah,
who's behind Streaming Garage. Says
that's-
Philip is so Hollywood.
Mike Rotman is Streaming Garage, and he's the Hollywood one. He was actually a comedy writer for
right.
Leno. He wrote for Politically Incorrect, South Park, and he was also, his favorite project was, he was one of the writers for A Simple Life with Paris Hilton. But he started a streaming studio in his garage in, you know, Burbank, basically. And you know, he's a great streamer. He knows his stuff.
Mike Flavin from Phoenixville, Pennsylvania says, William Shatner, since you start calling him Bill, everyone's been saying Bill this and Bill that. So Mike Flavin
It's
says,
William Shatner.
Mike Flavin says Bill recorded a prog album a few years ago. I do recall that.
Oh, if you want to see something interesting, and it has Lightwave 3D in it. If you look up William Shatner's "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds" music video, a friend of ours, Gary Robinson from Hollywood, did that video with Shatner and used a little Lightwave in it. So if you want to walk down memory lane, think of the Beatles as William Shatner recites the lyrics. You'll enjoy it.
So before we go on to your musical life some more, I have more pictures to show. Of course, Philip has since left NewTek and started his own company called Nelco Media, which we mentioned earlier on. you know, you have a business that provides a melding of or an amalgamation of hardware and software services. So it's not just the hardware. You know, there's the software service side that you feel is important with your company or with your business model. So, what kind of popular needs or trends do your customers look for when they come to you? What do they say? We need this because of.
Well, I'm going to get a shameless plug in. So Nelco, the way I describe our company is we're a boutique integrator reseller. So we build out TV studios, but we focus on workflow because it doesn't matter what widget you buy or what black box you buy or camera. If it doesn't all work together, it's not good. You know, you want an easy workflow, and that's kind of what we focus on. And it really goes back to what I mentioned earlier when we were discussing NDI. What a lot of people are asking for right now is distributed workflows, where I want to have all my team at their house making a show that comes together and broadcasts to TV or the web or whatever. That's really the hot thing right now, because in the age of COVID, you know, social distancing is important. You can't have the TV truck with 20 people packed into it anymore. So you got to offload those guys to somewhere. And, you know, and technology like NDI is a good way to do it.
What's been the most important requirement that some of your business customers have come to you with?
It's all over the place. I mean, you know, back to what we discussed earlier about the democratization of video, you have one level of customer where they're not television people.
Yeah.
But they know they need to communicate through video, and it needs to look like TV as much as possible.
Yeah.
So their requirement is, I need to teach my employees how to do this. So it needs to be easy enough that a non-TV producer can do it. And that's really the secret right now, is trying to make these workflows easier so you can bring more people in to do these broadcasts and just make it more user-friendly and easier so that you can be more of a creator and less of a technician. Going back to our discussion on 3D animation, you know, now the tools are so powerful, you can be more of a creator, and you're not plotting and graphing and typing in Boolean algebra into a text box to make some motion file. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with video. It's how do you make it easy, but it's got to look like TV. You got to have good video, good lights, good cameras, good audio, and good production with graphics and rolling your videos and do all the things that we're used to seeing on TV.
So with NDI and packages like, you know, NewTek's TriCaster and other third-party products, making streaming so efficient, and, you know, the pandemic making certain requirements of us, confining the majority of the population around the world to a room, and online shopping being so adequate. You can get whatever you want whenever you want it. And people are hooked to streaming services more and more. Do you think flying solo is the new broadcasting model? You know, you did kind of touch on that, but do you think that could be the future of broadcasting?
It's not the future, it's the present. You know, really, people are doing it right now. I mean, you look at the amount of money being made by people that play video games on Twitch, and they're streaming their games, and they're making, you know, some of them are like people like Ninja are making millions of dollars, and they're just sitting in their house playing video games, making a show while they play the game. You know, so it's not the future, it's the present. You know, and it's really, we mentioned it earlier, it's democratization of information and content. You know, if you have an idea, there's no one that can tell you no anymore. You can say, I'm going to make this show, and you know, the cost of failure is a lot lower than it used to be. In the olden days, if you made a TV show, it would cost millions of dollars to make, and if it failed, you're fired. Nowadays, you can try it out, and if it doesn't work, go make something else. You know, so that's kind of, you know, but you're just going to see that escalate, I think. I mean, I'm trying to think what could be the next big thing, but it's really hard to say because it's so democratized already, and it's so easy to do already, and you can use your iPhones and your iPads and your Galaxy 9 Plus and whatever, and use those as cameras, and we're here. Now it's the creators are the ones that will be in charge, because there's no one that can tell you no anymore.
So my iPad is supposedly AR enabled. Do you think that would be the extension to what we have now?
AR is something I'm super excited about. One of my good buddies is a guy named Robert Scoble, based in the Silicon Valley. Forbes named him one of the top 50 most influential people in tech. He just talks and writes about tech, but he's just a cool guy that just is excited about this. And he and I were talking the other day, and it's when augmented reality, when my glasses, without having to have a big Geordie LaForge visor from Star Trek Next Generation, but when it's just your glasses and I can look at you and it tells me your name, and how to pronounce it, because we're friends on social, that's to me the magic. And it's there's like, you have movies like Strange Days and things like that are kind of, everything's going to be recorded, everything's going to be visible and accessible through glasses or contact lenses, and your directions are you're just following the line down the street as you drive, not looking at a GPS or a screen in the car. That's when I'm going to geek out, when it's really unobtrusive and it's just part of your life.
How long do you think it'll take before we have AR as part of, regular part of online streaming? So we have the appropriate glasses or contacts or device to enable us to work in and view AR and interact with AR.
I don't know how long it's going to take, but there's rumors circulating on the internet right now about Apple's new glasses. That I think that's going to be the first step into that being adopted. I mean, you always have, with anything, your early adopters. So, like me, the hardcore computer geek that wants to go out and buy an Oculus Rift and have a wire attached. But, when my dad buys it, that's when it's not, early anymore. And, and when Apple releases it, you start getting those, behind the curve people that start getting it and using it. So I'm eagerly awaiting to see what Apple's going to do with these glasses. That's my exciting new thing that's coming.
So Kat has something to say about Elon Musk's Neuralink. What do you think about it?
I mean, I love The Matrix. It was a great movie, and it would be nice to plug in and learn to fly a helicopter. But I don't think I'm going to get one. I don't want to be the guy to test that one out.
Of course. So
I'll wait till it's been out 10 years before I have a neural link.
So, of course, we now know that Philip is a musician. And everyone, there is a lag from when we are streaming and when you receive the signals, about 30 to 60 seconds or so. So if you have any questions, please put them in the live chat so I can pick them up and present them to Philip as we move along, because we're heading towards the tail end of our stream. But Philip is a consummate musician. I heard him sing, and he's got a beautiful voice. He loves his guitars. Show us one of your guitars, Philip.
Well, this guitar is very special to me because it's not a real guitar. This is a prop from the movie Josie and the Pussycats. It's made out of rubber. I actually have the wooden body, but when Parker Posey beats the machine at the end and tries to hit Rachel Lee Cook, this is the guitar. So this is usually hanging on the wall here at Nelco. I normally play a Taylor, and my Taylor is currently strung up. It's called High Strung, which is the Nashville tuning. And so I went into my attic today and got out a guitar that I've had since the early 80s. And it doesn't sound as good as my Taylor, but this is an 83 limited ovation. And because I didn't take care of it, look, this is coming off. Look, I can take this out. I need to re-glue it.
Oh dear.
So, yes, that's not good. That's what happens when you store your guitar in an attic in Texas in 110-degree heat. But this is my ovation that I played when I was a kid. Can I play a song?
Of course, please.
I think I'm going to play that song I played on the Hanson webcast. This is called Unwind Our Hearts. It's written by a friend of mine from New Orleans named Paul Sanchez, who was the guitar player for Cowboy Mouth. If you've heard of Cowboy Mouth, they're an amazing New Orleans band, but it's called Unwind Our Hearts.
Philip, could you sit further back a bit so we can see your hands?
Yes. I'll even tilt down.
Thank you.
Let's tilt down. Let's adjust the shot.
Thank you.
All right, here we go. I'm scooting back. Here we go. Hopefully you can hear me. There we go. All right. If we have a fight, if we say some ugly things that don't mean you weren't right, to say you'd wear my ring, if marriage is a lie, then born again we'll take our turn, a husband and a wife, who'll help each other learn. What I have to say is to be prepared for life to want to tear us apart, 'cause the world is gonna try and unwind our hearts. Then we start to dance. I feel your legs against my legs. I'm 17 again, trembling and afraid. Then I feel your touch, and suddenly I'm somewhere else. If I give you chills and such, you give me chills yourself. What I have to say is to be prepared for life to want to tear us apart, 'cause the world is gonna try and unwind our hearts. Angrily you wait. I live my life on the road. When I get home it's late. You're sleeping and it's cold. But here we are again. I wrap myself around your waist. We find each other then, in heaven and in haste. What I have to say is to be prepared for life to want to tear us apart, 'cause the world is gonna try and unwind our hearts, 'cause the world is gonna try and unwind our hearts. There we go, Unwind Our Hearts by Paul Sanchez.
You're awesome, Philip Nelson.
It's always nice to get a canned round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
So, Philip, as we head towards the end of our live stream, and everyone, if you have more questions, please put them in the live chat. I have a couple of more serious questions for you.
All right.
Do you think live streaming has kind of shed light on the use of copyrighted material, or at least kind of made it more obvious?
I don't think it's made it more obvious. It's made it actually more difficult, because when you only had 4 networks, if you wrote a song and it appeared on the network, it was pretty easy to find out.
Yeah.
You know, but now with all the AI that the streaming hosts have, they're doing, you know, it's funny. They're doing a great job of protecting the intellectual property of the large labels and publishing companies, but the small guys aren't in those algorithms, you know, as much, you know. So, you know, it's actually, I think, made it a lot more difficult, you know, and it really drives me crazy, because I still haven't been able to figure out exactly how somebody can share, you know, a copy of a movie and it doesn't get flagged, and somebody plays 10 seconds of a semi-obscure classical piece that was recorded by the London Symphony, and that's flagged immediately. Yeah. So, I think, the AI is what's really policing that, and it's creating problems because I've worked with artists. I know like Mike Rotman, who's watching, has done the same thing, where you're working with the artist that wrote the song and they're performing their own song and they get flagged. I was doing a deal in Steamboat Springs with a country artist named Bruce Robinson, who was a famous songwriter. He wrote Rapped for George Strait and Angry All the Time for Tim McGraw and Traveling Soldier for the Dixie Chicks. And they're doing a tribute to him that we're streaming, and we got flagged. And they're like, "Oh, this is copyrighted material." It's like, it's copyrighted by him. They unlocked us pretty quick, but it's they're figuring it out. But I think right now it protects the big labels and big publishing companies really well, and it's the small guys that are still kind of in the uncharted territory, because how do you know if and if you're a small musician, you're probably excited somebody's using it.
Yeah.
But you want to make sure that, I'd like to know, and so, yeah, I think it's become more of a challenge and made it easier for people to snag people's stuff and speed it up just a little bit so it bypasses the algorithms and things like that. So it's a challenge.
Interesting. Yeah. Our friend Kat says the same thing. I got flagged for my own tracks by my own distributor. I've been in that position as well. With the live stream, particularly when I play my own music, I get flagged.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite. Well, it's nice to know someone's looking after me or looking out for me, but still, it's.
It's your show. You want to play your music.
Show.
You're officially giving yourself rights to use your own music.
Yeah. Question number 2: the future of broadcasting.
Well, the future of broadcasting is interesting because the networks are. It's kind of confusing the way that they were slow to adopt streaming, and now they're like running 1,000,000 miles an hour to adopt streaming. And like the network Pluto TV is owned by Viacom, which is CBS Viacom, and they're running a ton of channels. And it's free, and they're trying new models. It's hard to say, but I think the days of just paying for a bundle at cable, I think cable may be in trouble more than broadcasting in general, because these networks can now reach their customers directly and bypass the cable network. Whereas before, if they wanted to have ESPN in 11 million households in New York, or 12 million, or however many million it is, they had to be on, Comcast or whatever, but now they can say, oh, buy a subscription and just have an internet connection and watch it. Now they are keeping certain content away, but we're in the wild, wild west of how this is going to turn out. But you can kind of see the writing on the wall, because NBC just launched Peacock. You've got Viacom with Pluto. You've got also Viacom with Philo, which is this $29 a month package where you can watch, DIY and HGTV and, Nat Geo channel and all this stuff, or Discovery Channel. Nat Geo. Nat Geo is with Disney Plus. But yeah, you see these media companies reaching their customers directly, which is exciting and scary at the same time, because we democratized video where streaming can allow anybody to make a show, but now that all these networks are going to start streaming, it's going to muddy up the waters a little bit. But the good thing is the number one search engine in the world is Google, and number 2 is YouTube. And if you're hashtagging correctly and doing your metadata like you need to, your audiences can find you.
I'm bad with metadataing. I get lazy. I've already done it.
Live stream, music. That's your hashtags.
Sorry. Okay, I'm going to scroll through the live chat to see if there are any interesting questions yet unanswered. Quickly Scroll. Kat's been the most prolific in terms of commenting and offering interesting bits of information.
I was going to make a joke and say he's full of live questions. No, I'm just kidding. I love Kat. He's a good guy, and he's one of the most passionate people I know. If he loves something, everybody's going to know about it. And if something's bad, everybody's going to know about it.
Uh-oh.
So it's good. No, he's a good guy.
Gulp.
Gulp.
Yeah, I gotta be careful what I say. This is live. I'm very diplomatic. I'm very understanding. I'm a nice person.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. So you love that song, Philip. I got to hear Philip singing just one stanza yesterday, but he sang the whole song today. That was beautiful. I have... I think my friend Mike Brunt from Eugene, Oregon said nice words. I think he really enjoyed your singing. Let's see if I thought I saw it. Mike.
Well, thank you.
Oh, yeah, but here's Mike. He said lovely words and voice. He loves your voice.
Thank you. Well, if you would like to hear more of my music, you can download my album, Philip Nelson, Adventures from the Road. It's on Spotify, iTunes, everywhere. And if you want to see a movie tonight that has me in it, there's a movie called The Adventures of Pepper and Paula on Amazon. They licensed a couple of my songs for the movie, and it's a really funny story. So they're like, hey, we love the songs. We want to use this one song in the closing credits, so we would like you and your band to be on stage performing at the end of the movie. So I call my band, and they're these really cool, hip guys from Austin, real trendy and interesting. And we show up on the movie set, and I didn't know that we were not Philip Nelson on stage. It was Doc Dakota and the Burglar Band. And they hand my band costumes of prison stripes. And then I had this Western fringy shirt and a cowboy hat, and I'm on stage. But you can watch The Adventures of Pepper and Paula. I think it's on Amazon Prime. And if you go all the way to the end, you can see me on stage singing one of my songs from the album Adventures from the Road called Invisible Man.
I might go try and look that up.
You can blackmail me with that. I'm Doc Dakota. I got an IMDb entry on that one.
Yes.
Doc Dakota.
The
Burglar Band.
I would never blackmail you, Philip Nelson.
I give everybody plenty of material to work with, though.
Let's see. I don't see any other questions. Of course, Scott Cooper piped in with, I see the stream version. Okay, here we go. Scott Cooper, your dear friend, Scott Cooper says, oh, that's gotta be pictures, LOL.
Nice. Blackmail material. I told you. A true friend stabs you in the front. So thank you, guys.
That's so funny. More? I'm not sure. Now, I have short-term memory, so the person behind Championship Dart Circuit, what's his name again?
That's David Arit.
David, that's right, David. He's the Disney guy, no.
No, he is Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. He's Merv Griffin guy.
Okay. He says, what's the host's name and where can I find her music? Who? Which host?
Sweet. You're the host. I'm the guest.
I thought he was referring to your Amazon Prime reveal.
He's referring to you. And I would like to go on the record when Shueh-li, tell me, pronounce your name for me one time, and it's Shueh-li, right?
Yeah, Shueh-li.
Okay, so when I met her, we were demoing TriCaster for Keyboard Player Magazine, Stephen Fortner. Was it Keyboard Magazine?
Yeah, he was with Keyboard then.
Yeah. So she was with him at our press demo just because they're friends, and she and I started geeking out about the Amiga, and then we started joking that because she's one of the foremost theremin players in the world, and I said, dude, I want to learn to play the theremin, and she was like, you teach me TriCaster, I'll teach you some theremin, which I have a feeling you will be way better at TriCaster than I would be at theremin. I'll just be making screeching noises for like an hour and making cats and dogs growl, but you'll be making really good TV when I get, because it's really hard. I've played around with one, and it is, you really, I mean, because even finger placement and the curl of your fingers, and it's just, I'm not that smart.
It's got nothing to do with smarts, Philip Nelson. It's got to do with practice and ear training. And you have plenty of good. You got 2 good ears.
Well, I don't know the names of the chords, but I know how to play them. That's what I always joke about. Like this song, I play this song in the key of bear claw. No.
Yeah.
Because the chord looks like a bear claw to me.
I like that. I do that with my theremin students. I say, pretend you're plucking a feather or something.
Feather.
Now pluck the feather. See, we're very much alike in the description.
All I want to do is play the Star Trek theme. That's all I need to know how to play.
I can teach you that. Yeah, that's easy. That'll be easy for you.
But see, you also have to be able to coordinate yourself to move in all 4 directions at once, right? Because I'm like a one-trick pony. It's like Pinocchio. It's like this. But then when you have to do this, and it just blows my mind.
Yeah, the theremin is a phenomenon that is yet to be completely and utterly unmasked, There's always so much mystery still behind it. Even for a seasoned player or practitioner, there's still so much more. I guess it goes with anything, isn't it? You think you know something because you use it regularly till you extend yourself. You go beyond what you do regularly, and then you realize, oh, I didn't know I could do that.
Well, wisdom is when you realize how much you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're a kid, you're like, I know everything. And then you're like, whoa, I knew nothing, and I know even less now. And hopefully you get wiser as you get older. But,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I do know.
I'm going to flash my Bandcamp URL for David. I have music on Bandcamp. I also have a SoundCloud site. If you just type my name in full, I think, or you can type my name properly like this. I'll just do that for you right now. Sorry, Philip.
I'm just looking at the chat. I'm looking at the theremin cats. Bear claw. We got some bear claw. Dude, Scott Cooper's making fun of me for saying I want to learn to play Star Trek. But you know why? He's actually cousins with Leonard Nimoy.
Oh,
so,
okay.
He's part of the royal family.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Scott Cooper had something good to say as well regarding learning. You never stop learning, yeah.
That is true.
It's I think I had during my session with my friend Tony Fowler last week, who used to work at the BBC, I asked him, I made this, I presented this notion that a lot of people feel that at a certain age they shouldn't have to learn anymore. So they will never catch up with technology because they're too old for it. And of course, Tony is very much like me. I guess that's why you guys are my friends, because we think similarly. You knowledge, oh great, give it to me.
It's just fun to get to learn a new skill.
Absolutely.
That's why I tried to learn to ride a horse. I just wanted to learn a new skill. Learning to ride a horse would be a handy skill.
I hadn't thought about it. I tried learning how to ride a horse in Sydney, Australia years ago, and I was given a young, a horse that was young,
ready
in
to
age.
run.
Yeah, it just wanted to run. So it almost threw me off its back, and I thought, well, that's not going to be good for me.
Well, the lady that taught me to ride, she made me learn to ride bareback first, which was terrifying.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a saddle, and this horse is really tall, and I'm thinking, I'm going to eat dirt. But, and then the funny thing is when it's riding, I think it's like galloping at 60 miles an hour, and then I watched the video, and it's just barely moving. It was embarrassing. I thought it was like sprinting through the corral, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it was going like 2 miles an hour. It was very sad.
I know, and I was taught that you had to go with the bounce of the horse, because if you go against it, you're going to get a really bad back. You know,
Gotta
because
roll
you're
with it.
slamming against the animal. Oh boy. So, but I scuba dive, so we should do it one day.
I love scuba diving. That's one of my favorite things to do. What's funny, I'll tell one more story. So when we were working on the Miss Teen USA pageant in the Bahamas, I took my 15-year-old son with me. And I told my wife we're going to go scuba diving and we may see some sharks. Well, I didn't tell her we were going to a shark feeding dive. And it was like 50 sharks swimming around us. And so the video was amazing, and it's on my Facebook if anybody wants to see it. But I get back to the hotel and we're just like, this was amazing. And she sees the video and I was in so much trouble. She goes, you took him where? To do what? Anyway. But diving's fun. And sharks aren't really as dangerous if they're like reef sharks and black tips and nurse sharks. I'm not going scuba diving with tiger sharks or anything.
I got stories about sharks too living in Australia, but I'll leave that for another day. I do realize I have a couple of more pictures of you that I want to show. Of course, it's of a studio that you installed. So everybody, hold on, we don't want the Hansons. We want a picture of a studio before, or a space before Philip and his team from Nelco Media put the installation together. Could you give us a little...
Yeah. So what we did is, this was a studio down in the Rio Grande Valley. It was for the city of McAllen. And they basically had a 25 by 25 room and said, we want this to be our TV studio. And so we came in and designed it. And if you advance to the next one, you'll see 15 days later, that sad little chair in that sad little room was a TV studio. And that's kind of what we do is, you know, anybody can go get a camera and go get a switcher, but you need it if you want it to look like TV. There's some things you need to do, and that's the kind of things we do. And anybody that follows Nelco Media, we're working on 3 of the coolest projects on the planet right now, but I cannot tell you what they are because I'm under NDA, but soon you will see some announcements, and it's going to be huge. Huge! It's going to be huge, everybody.
You'll be cat paw huge.
Bigger than a cat paw. Way bigger than a cat paw.
Cat paw in the screen this way.
One of them does have to do with outer space, though. That's all I have to say.
Outer space is good. Mind you, everyone...
And I'll play theremin music while I work.
Yes, you do that. I'll take you on as a student before you do, but don't embarrass me.
I will. I will embarrass you.
Okay, everyone, if there are no more questions... Let's see, I'm checking questions. Oh, yeah. Sorry, NDAs mean... No
non-disclosure. Yeah, no non-disclosure agreement.
Cat, of course, is curious to know.
Yeah, he's going to call me as soon as we hang up, but I can't tell you. Sorry, dude.
Sorry,
NDAs
dude.
are ironclaid. They're ironclad.
That's right. What's stronger than iron? Titanium?
I just prefer to stick with iron. Old school iron.
Okay. Sorry, Philip. Go on.
I said iron's heavy. No, ignore me. I'm rambling now, so you can just turn off my mic if you want.
No, you're fine. Everyone, we have loved having Philip on with us on today's live stream with us. I'm sorry. I think I'm getting hungry because it's lunchtime, and Philip is probably ready to hit the sack because it's nighttime. It's time.
I'm going to eat this banana Twinkie. This is a banana flavored Twinkie.
You know what? In all the years that I've been in the United States, I've never had a Twinkie.
I'm going to send you a Twinkie. They're well preserved. Don't worry.
Okay, Philip, you have been absolutely awesome. We have a little animated GIF. You're awesome. And of course, an applause is required at this juncture.
I'm doing my battle cry.
And we want to thank you as well. Let me just remove my name. We want to thank you for working so hard for an hour and a half, entertaining us.
Thank you for entertaining me.
You are true to your area of profession and your industry. You deserve an award.
The free guitar pick. Thank you. I cherish this guitar pick.
Hey, spit that out. Okay, Philip, we're gonna bid you adieu. I hope to see you soon in America somehow. But stay safe and keep on keeping on. Be positive like you always are. And I look forward to hearing good news from you and more of your music.
And tell your mom I'm her biggest fan of her choir and that I was honored to be on this show with you because you're in her house.
You're crazy, but I like crazy. And you're a great friend. Thanks, Philip. Take care.
Have a great night. See you
and
later.
Regards to your family. Bye. Okay, that was Philip Nelson, everybody. It was such a pleasure for me to have him on. He is such a funny person and full of heart and full of soul and full of music. And, you know, I always spend time looking for friends who are of a similar type of understanding of what life is all about. And Philip fits perfectly in that category. All my friends are awesome. All right, folks. Please say a few kind words if you enjoyed the stream, and subscribe if you haven't. And you can say your kind words in the comments or the live chat. It helps support the streaming work that I do to bring more people to the stream each week so we can have a bigger party. I really enjoyed having you guys as well with me. Thank you so much. Thanks to Philip's friends from across America. Thanks to my friends from around the world. I will see you next week. I will announce the guest for next week on my YouTube channel closer to the date. I'm trying to secure this person from Nashville, from the music industry in Nashville. Hopefully he can make it. So without saying much more, I'm gonna run for lunch and to my food. Thank you again, everyone. Take care and have a great evening or day, and I'll see you soon. Thank you very much.